What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. We are talking 2021 NFL Draft. I'm here to break down the AFC South and what I thought about each team's draft selections. Before we jump into it, I want to give a shout out to Raise Energy. They are my favorite energy drink on the market. I'm a huge fan. I'm lucky enough to have them sponsor the show. You can buy their products, use my promo code. Obviously a little bit of money goes to me. It helps the show, helps me grow. So I'd really appreciate that. But like I said, it is really, really good. I use it for pre-workout. I just casually drink it. I usually have one every day. 300 milligrams of caffeine, so it gets you pretty hyped up. So definitely check it out. I think it's better than Bang or Rain or Adrenaline, any of those. Definitely check it out. But let's get to it. So I'm going to be talking about a draft winner, draft loser, and the other two teams, okay, of this division. So when I look at draft winner, I think it's an obvious one. It's a cop-out. You got to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get a franchise quarterback, not only just a franchise quarterback, but once-in-a-lifetime kind of quarterback with Trevor Lawrence. He has a chance to be special. When we look at Trevor Lawrence, he really is the complete package. Tremendous arm talent. His legs are incredible. He's got the length, the throwing delivery. He really is the complete package. So Jacksonville's very, very lucky. With their second first-round pick, they get Travis Etienne. A little bit of a head-scratching pick, to be honest. I thought they would either try to get him a weapon or protection or that defense that was kind of a train wreck last year. They get a running back, which I didn't think was really a need, but I think they really like Etienne and his playmaking ability. And, it obviously helps a quarterback to have a strong running game. So they end up getting Etienne. In the second round, which they have two picks, they get Tyson Campbell. I like him, don't love him. I prefer Asante Samuel Jr. to be, that's my preference. But they get Tyson Campbell, who I actually like him just as much as like an Eric Stokes, a little bit raw, but if he can kind of finish on the ball, make a play on the ball, he can be, he has everything else going for him. So I think he can definitely help that Jacksonville defense. I really like with their second round pick, Walker Little. He's a guy that I think, with injuries, him taking last year off because of COVID, I really, really like him. I think he can be a bookend tackle. I'm a big fan of Walker Little. And they go in, they do make some plays on defense here with Cisco, safety from Syracuse. They end up shoring up that defensive line a little bit. Jordan Smith from UAB. So they do get some guys. Now, those guys are going to be something where, I don't know how they pan out necessarily. Cisco, who I do like, I think he brings the athletic profile. DB is always kind of a hard position to judge, but I do like Cisco from Syracuse. But let me get to who I think the loser is. And again, I think this is kind of a cop-out. It's an obvious one, and it is the Houston Texans. They are quickly becoming kind of the laughingstock of the NFL. Bill O'Brien absolutely decimated that roster. I like Bill O'Brien as a coach, as a GM. He was awful. He was pretty bad. And what this draft signal to me is the Houston Texans do not expect Deshaun Watson to play this year, or he's going to miss a large portion of the year. I know there was reports about it. You can never take those, too seriously. They go out with their very first pick, which is in the third round. They get a quarterback, David Mills, who is interesting. If he ends up happening to be the long-term starter, because whatever happens with Watson, I don't want to make this a Watson podcast. But I do like the pick of Mills. I think he's an intriguing prospect of the kind of project guys like a Trask, Mon, Mills. I think I like Mills the most. So we'll kind of see how that plays out, but it's more so what it signals. They go with the third round pick. They get Nico Collins, wide receiver from Michigan. He's a big guy. He's good. I don't think he's not going to obviously fill the shoes of a Will Fuller or a DeAndre Hopkins, but I definitely think he's serviceable. He's going to be good in the red zone. It's a little bit interesting they didn't try to go defense, because that defense has really taken a huge hit over the past few years. They do get that. Fifth round, they go Brevin Jordan, tight end from Miami. He's a plus athlete. We'll kind of see how he pans out as far as a receiving tight end. But they didn't address defense until the fifth round with Garrett Wallow, linebacker from TCU. I think that's interesting, but also at the same time, I think the Houston Texans have a lot of needs, and whether they were going with best player available or, what they were kind of thinking, but it's not like they can really just plug the 2 or 3 needs they have because they have a whole bunch. And basically, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, we don't even know if he's ever going to play for the organization again. So it's definitely a tough situation for the Houston Texans. Let's jump to another team in the AFC South, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. With their first round pick, the 21st overall pick, they take Kwity Paye, defensive end from Michigan. Athletic freak. This dude, can get it. Whether he develops into a top flight pass rusher, that's kind of to be seen. He didn't have fantastic production at Michigan. Clearly, like when we look at him, he reminds me of, I can't even think of his name, the guy the Baltimore Ravens drafted from Penn State. Plus athlete. It's all about development. If they think they have the guys on staff to up this dude's game, it's a great pick for the Colts. But I think they're on the right track, right? They needed pass rush help, which they double up in the second round. They get Dayo. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. DN from Vanderbilt. Really, really like him. Obviously, you have to be pretty worried about the Achilles injury that happened earlier this year. But I really like him. I actually like him more as a pass rusher. If he comes back fully healthy, I actually like him more than Kwity Paye. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. They go in the fourth round. They get Kylen Granson, tight end from SMU, who I wasn't too familiar with coming into the draft process. But after I saw they picked him, I started watching some tape and, reading a little bit about him. I really, really like him. And I think he's definitely a solid pick. I thought they kind of had a little bit more confidence in Mo Alley Cox. But, we'll kind of see how that plays out. I'm surprised they didn't try to address left tackle with Anthony Casonzo walking away from the game. But that must mean to me that they have somebody in mind who they think can step up and not necessarily completely replace those, his shoes. But we'll kind of see how that plays out. But I definitely think one of their bigger needs was getting after the quarterback, and they addressed that early and often. The last team in the AFC South is the Tennessee Titans. They go out with the 22nd overall pick, and they grab Caleb Farley. If Caleb Farley is healthy, he's the best corner in this year's draft. Okay. If he's healthy. Obviously, one back surgery, you're really worried at this age, and just in general. 2 back surgeries, you definitely, some teams had him completely off their board. Caleb Farley is an absolute player. Like I said, if he's healthy, he's going to be a great player. I kind of thought Tennessee would go with like a Greg Newsome II. They didn't end up going that route. They went with the potential more than anything else. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. In the second round, they got one of my favorite tackles, just an old school kind of bruiser with Dillon Radunz. I think that's how you say it, Radunz, from North Dakota State. Big fan of his play. Clearly played with Trey Lance. Did a great job protecting his blind side. I think he fits in with that Tennessee scheme of just downhill running. I think he's a day one starter. And then we look, and their third round, they get Monty Rice, linebacker from Georgia. A little bit of a reach here. I don't even necessarily think he's like an upside project guy as much as I kind of think he's, I've heard reports, and I kind of agree that he's kind of going to be like an ace special teamer. Seems a little early to draft that. But Vrabel, defensive mastermind, maybe he can kind of draw something up for Monty Rice, and he has an idea of what he wants to do with them. They get Elijah Molden, who I'd like from Washington. They're trying to swirl up that secondary because that defense wasn't what we're used to seeing from a Vrabel defense. The one thing I'm kind of surprised that Tennessee didn't do is they didn't try to get another playmaker. Right now, that offense is, Tannehill handing it to Derrick Henry, and they're throwing it to A.J. Brown. I don't really think they have anybody else that's going to make a play. I mean, maybe I'm not overly familiar with the Tennessee roster, and maybe there's, some dudes who, are on the up and up. I don't know. I think they're missing a guy. Maybe, I think this is going to be kind of a crazy offseason where we're going to see a lot of like June 1st cuts. So maybe they grab somebody then, but I'm just kind of surprised they didn't try to grab another receiver. Tight end was kind of a weak class this year, but it's interesting. Overall, this division, the AFC South, had a solid draft. Houston Texans obviously traded all their first round picks for nothing really. They have Laramie Tunsil. So that team's in, pretty dire need. But I think this was a very specific where the Titans went out and tried to get defense in that back end. The Colts wanted to get defense, pass rushing, and the Jaguars, they got their franchise guy. They got the guy they're hoping for the next 15, 20 years. Of course, I think each of these teams made a little bit of a mistake here and there, but an overall pretty good draft class for the AFC South. I can't wait to see how these players develop into the future. And if you guys like the episode, make sure you click like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. It's the only way we grow. And I will see you guys next time.